This is a weekly roundup presented by the Conversation Project. I am Jay Clifton Payne, and again, doing it live. Although today we're doing it on Sunday, had to take care of some personal effects and take care of some family things on yesterday. So thank you so much for people who asked, "Hey, you going to wrap this thing up today?" We're going to wrap it up right now for the Sunday edition, which is till technically for the week ending November the 2nd, yesterday, 2024. And stories you have today includes Alphaba. Well, technically all of Wicked, and we'll tell you about how some inside baseball and how I can make people mad at me and get clicks. Plus, Steve Bannon and Andrew Mitchell, two other people who get people mad at them and get clicks as well. Plus, we have 12 stories total from the past week, stories that popped out of the page, popped out of our shows, popped out from the coverage that you guys engaged in quite extensively, or that were really just sort of, I gotta cover that one again. This is the week that was for the week that ended on November the 2nd, 2022, covering news from Friday, October 25th through Friday, October the 1st. Now, there is a one repeat story. We'll talk about that in a second, just because it was just such a big deal. It overcame both weeks. But we'll go to the stories that are presented by you. You said they were conversational in our daily show called Things You Might Not Have Heard. And these are 12 of the stories in the past week, no particular order, as we just kind of sled them around to get you what we got going on. We're also doing this live. So if you're watching this in the replay and you're seeing some glitches, that's because internet issues going through. But if you're on live, you pop up and we're going to conversate with what's going on, just pop some in the chat. We'll pause for a second. We'll conversate with you. If you watch this in a replay, tell us where you're watching from, how you watch it, and what you want from the Conversation Project. That's it. That's all that. You're ready to go. So 12 stories to get to. This usually takes a bit of while time. So you can control this by interjecting or not interjecting. And yes, there is still an ad in this thing going forward. Oh, yeah, that ad for Ground News. We'll talk more about that great sponsor there. But Ground News is a great place to get news that is biased on purpose. And you'll know who the bias comes from by checking out Ground News, using their app, going to their website, and seeing where your news is coming from and how it's actually maybe affecting you. More information on that in just a bit as we roll through the ads, the news to get to the ads. Still getting used to this live stuff going forward. Let's kick things off the bat with people yelling and screaming at me. Now, Wicked, one of the last stories we actually produced. This was a Friday story, Friday the 25th story that we produced for a Thursday edition of what was put into the feeds. And what really kind of got this off was Friday seemed like an off day of things to post. I posted on Friday a story on Brian Stetzler, who was basically trying to pimp himself out to get more spots because CNN's not actually using them. I posted about Donald Trump and his response on protecting women. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show. He's one of the very last stories we have for this week. But I also posted this thing on Wicked because it's Wicked, and I'm sure somebody would look at it and see what's going on. The headline for story number one, a long intro to get to the headline, is Wicked early reviews unite in their verdict of a film riddled with scandal and controversy. The actual scandal is the fact that the 3-hour musical is being split into two movies, and they're doing that with a lot of things. They split the final book for Harry Potter into two movies. They split the final book for the Hunger Games in two movies. Dune is like a two-version movie that is split in two films so they could get bigger stories out of it. They can go bigger, badder, better, and more deeper detail in things going forward. And some people believe that being able to split the movie into two means actual character development into the actual movie as you're sitting there to watch it, as opposed to the musical, which goes fine, but it's meant to be a musical. It's meant to be an hour and a half or so, and then an intermission and another hour and a half of actual music and musical and TV or movie, if you will. Splitting this thing into two pieces makes it a bit more of an adventure, a bit more of an extravaganza, if you will. Spider-Verse there as well. Now, for whatever reason, not quite sure because I don't have a lot of comments on what's going on. This actually was a very, very, very big determinant, and it may actually, because of when it was posted, pop into the numbers and may end up popping again if it gets some sort of replay to this. Actually, we did more replays, so more stories will pop in as more people talk about the movie. But this was a very high very high view. I'm looking to the side over here, and right now, while my average like on my videos are around 85, 87%, usually they don't go too far below that for people who say dislike of things. I have current like ability on this one at about 14.7%. I can't see well from this distance. About 14%, about 15% of people actually like this post based on people hit dislike. And all I basically said was, well, I said to split the movie into two. And I said, I didn't care for the musical, but my whole family, all the women that live here want to see it. So, but I didn't care. So apparently people watched to the end, saw that I didn't care, and are downgrading this thing. However, I'm getting more clicks than normal on a clip like this one. So keep on downgrading. We'll figure it out. Anyway, Wicked is going to be split into two movies. There you go. The highly anticipated adaptation, which has controversy and positive reception in the reviews based on how it looks, how it feels, and the fact that they're splitting it into two movies. Ariana Grande as Glinda, who's actually using a full name in the credits, and Cynthia Elvaro, which I always mispronounce, Ervro as Elphaba. Of course, this is a retelling, a reimagining, if you will, of the Wizard of Oz from a perspective of the witches and witchy school. And before they became the Wicked Witch of the West and the Good Witch, before they had those real designations, they were just roommates in witches school. And you have to go to two movies to get the full story. If you hadn't seen the story, go watch videos of the play. Go watch the thing going on there. And you'll see what's going on. Get updates on that one. But guess what? You're going to pay $16 twice to see both movies. Tis what it is. We don't have an update on this one, but because this was actually something that was also a later thing last week, but we knew what was happening. Bronny James is going to be going to the G League very, very soon. The Lakers are on a road trip right now, and as that trip wraps up, he's expected to go to the G League. Now, Bronny scored his first point a few games ago, one basket, something like that. His first points have been scored in the game, so he's on the books as an NBA player with assists and with some points. So you can never take that away from him. But will he come back in time to make a playoff run for the Lakers? Who knows? Right now, the NBA is in this weird period where they started the little tournaments that they have to begin to make the actual regular season more relevant with less games, and the tournaments are really an extra spot for them to tune up the full rosters going forward. So it's really hard to really determine what's happening right now, other than the fact that Bronny James, one of the most anticipated recruits, anticipated draftees of a long time, because they want to see what happens when he plays with his father, is going to go down to the minor leagues for a while. And will a while be forever? We're just going to have to see. They put a lot of money into him. They put a lot of time into him. And Bron wants him there, being old Bron. So will young Bron get there? His talent and time will tell us. It's turned into a more of a running gag when I talk about new rappers, young rappers these days, and how I don't know who they are. I literally had a conversation with one of our basketball players at the college I work for the day job. Because every year, we've had 3 years of basketball. This is our third year. Every year, there have been complaints about from the players because they want to hear certain music. And I say, ain't going to happen. All they do is cuss and talk about shooting people. Ain't going to happen. So they're on a task to find things that are clean and appropriate, which I told them I need 2 hours of rotating music. It's not happened yet. So they've been threatened with Sade and Whitney Houston. We're not going to quite go that drastic, but I can tell you the people that are in the stands would like it. However, this is not about that itself. This is about recognizing a young rapper, what's going on. Now, Young Thug, because it was such a big case, was a national case. People figured out what was going on and learned what was happening. And basically everybody fell in love with Young Thug because they thought he was being railroaded. He, of course, is now done with his stuff. New rapper, new young guy, another guy can't pick out of a lineup, as he's arrested for a murder for hire plot, this being rapper Lil Durk. Authorities allege that he orchestrated a targeted hit against a rival rapper, Quandro Rondo, retaliation from a 2022 incident. And so it's a confrontation that happened way back, even before that, but an incident came about in 2022 where things that this went down. And so right now it was something between King Von, Dirk's close friend, who died in a shootout connected to Rondo's associates. And so because beefs are beefs and, rappers live their rap lives, according to authorities, Dirk and 5 associates have been charged with conspiracy to use of interstate facilities to commit a murder for hire, with allegations that they plan to carry out the fatal shooting of one of Rondo's family members back in 2022. So the rap game, the rap life, the reason why Young Thug was in jail, because he rapped about doing bad things, and they said, well, you said you did bad things in an album, so you did them, right? And the courts are like, not exactly. And so that's the longest case like ever in Georgia history is now done. Lil Durk we're going to see at this time start going for this crime, which looks like it's actually a crime. You may actually see some time for this one. We're doing this live, so if you want to comment on any story with us live, go ahead and comment to us in the feeds, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, X. I don't think we can see the comments through our streaming service here. Or if you're watching this in a replay, let me know what we're doing well and not so well by going to our website, This is Conversation Project, and engaging there. Or, of course, emailing us, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. You do that anytime you want to for this thing here, or the grander things, or any of the smaller things you do all day. We do stories all day, every day for you to engage in, to tell us what to talk about, which is how we have the stories you're talking about here right now. Let's move on to the next story. Story at the number 4 spot. A judge orders Virginia to restore 1,600 voter registrations canceled in effort to purge non-citizens. Now, with the election coming up in 2 days, Sunday, Monday, 2 days, we won't be over with all this stuff, but we'll be at the point where we can end the vote part and start the counting and the real gnashing of teeth. However, this happened later last week, or so this is a bit old at this point, but this is something that was big enough to catch your attention, and we're bringing it up again because there's still a lot of people complaining, a lot of people fighting, a lot of people going over who can actually vote, with early voting wrapping up essentially now, and your mail-in ballot being maybe invalid because of dates, and people not showing up to line up for voting on Tuesday. A federal judge recently ordered Virginia to reinstate over 1,600 voter registrations that were removed in an attempt to prevent non-citizens from voting. This decision came after it was found that the purge process used by Virginia's Department of Elections mistakenly canceled registrations of legitimate U.S. citizens. U.S. District Judge Patricia Giles ruled in favor of restoring these registrations, finding the process both overreaching and error-prone. This ruling followed the lawsuit filed by the Department of Justice under the Biden administration, challenging the state's procedures that led to the purges. Meanwhile, Virginia officials, including the governor, that's Glenn Youngkin, argued the purge was necessary for election security, but the judge, being Giles, stated the eligible citizens had been unlawfully removed, which means security didn't work out for them, impacted voting rights for upcoming elections. When they looked into this thing, they looked and see the ones that they are purging, essentially are the ones that were definitely invalid, right about 20. And so at that point, seeing that only 20 out of a large number who were not invalid made it not worthy of the thing. So they reinstated the folks that were valid, and people who are invalid, they'll have to either be caught, or most cases, they probably aren't going to vote. Voter fraud is a thing, but not like you think it is. No one's actually stealing massive elections by dumping ballots in any time of day. It's probably possible, but it's very easy to see it coming, and you can probably find some way to interject in it in the process. Large masses of, the whole dead people voting thing, that's not happening the way people think it's happening, or the way it's being portrayed and people think it's happening. Your vote is probably more secure than you think, even if you don't think it is. We will see if this is going to be a fight and heels to die on come Tuesday. Adele bursts into tears as she embraces Celine Dion in the audience of her Las Vegas residency. I also believe I covered this last week as well. It's been a weird week because things kind of overtaking, but it was in the range, so we pull it in there. And there's no reason why we can't talk about Adele and Celine Dion again, because they're lovely people. We'll do it quickly, though. Fans at the show she was at doing in her Las Vegas residency, that's being Adele, noticed a misting as Adele looked to the stage, looked to the side, and saw Celine Dion clapping away, doing her, "Yes, I am Celine. I love you, Adele. This is great. Thank you for keeping my building awake," because this is the building built for her, Celine Dion. She comes down to the stage. She has an emotional embrace with Celine Dion, and they cry like only Grammy winner divas can cry together. And people took pictures. People fell in love with it. It was a great story. Celine Dion, any chance to talk about what's going on in her life is an awesome time to do, especially when there's good things to say. The good thing to say is she's doing okay. You can't say she's doing well, better, or significantly greater. She's not going on tour. She's not doing much work, but she's enjoying herself and able to get out and enjoy a concert with Adele, which is pretty awesome in itself there going forward. I want to remind you that we're doing this live on Sunday. Usually this is a Saturday thing. You should record it. We're doing a new thing where we're doing the whole thing live. It's easier to get it into the recording, to be honest. Easier to get it into the feeds, but I have to wait for some processing and whatever. We don't edit it, so it's what it is. So if you want to comment on any story doing live, or comment on anything I'm doing live, go ahead and do it. Do it in live comments for Facebook and for YouTube, and we will engage in it. We'll stop and pause for a moment and we'll engage if you would like to do that. If not, sit back, relax, watching it live, or if you're watching on the recording, comment like normal, and we'll get those comments as best as possible. Moving on to the story that's at number 6 today. Mendez brothers receive support for clemency from Los Angeles County DA George Gascon. And this is a story I'm literally popping up that because it was in the number 7 spot last week and bring it up again this week because the magic of the feeds. Now, we'll go deeper into how the feeds work for our daily stuff. But for this thing, we go from Friday to Friday, because it's just the way it clips off. So Friday to Friday, because there's some things in the Friday morning, things get in there. And so sometimes there's a carryover, there's a little bit of weight, a little bit of stickiness, and things get stuck. This story was really big it's been big for 3 weeks, and it looks like it's going to happen. It looks like the DA, Mr. George Gascon, I've been butchering his name for 3 weeks now, is going to find a way to basically retry the Menendez brothers or look into seeing some sort of clemency for the Menendez brothers, those guys, Eric and Lyle. The conviction was for murdering their parents in 1989. That's when it happened. They didn't get convicted for 4 years later. But after serving 35 years in prison and being good model citizens, they may get a chance for freedom, maybe parole, maybe a new trial, all the things happening. Number one, more people are believing the story that they were molested by their father, as many people that worked with their father. His father was Bob Menendez was a big-time music producer and worked with a lot of artists from American music and for Hispanic music as well. There are new people coming out who are saying, yes, I was abused by Bob Menendez. And so people are believing that the sons were actually abused. So there are people believe that story. Also, many of the family members believe that it's enough time. It should be done. They should be released. Many family members do not, though. So there's that. And there's people who just think bad people should stay in jail. This is a toss-up sort of situation. Your mileage may, of course, vary on your thoughts and situations on this, but the Menendez brothers look like they're going to get some sort of levity to their sentences coming soon. This pause is planned. We're between the stories, 6 stories down, 6 more to go, 12 stories from the past week that caught my attention as ones that caught your attention on the biggest level. And we're asking you to help us catch more people's attention. If you like this program here, this is a longer bit of a program. Daily, we have something called Things You Might Not Have Heard. And outside of that, we have the news clips that go throughout the day. Those are smaller versions of things we have going on. New Things You Might Have Heard is a show where we provide you 8 stories, 10 on Monday, from the past day that were interesting. And then the clips from some of the better stories go out there to gather some more engagement and more comments. This here, of course, the wrap up of 12 good stories from the week. We want you to like any of them you like. The more you like of the things we do, the more people see of the social proof that what we produce is good stuff. And over the 3.5 years or so we've been producing stuff on this channel in this format, we have seen the growth. We've seen where we've gotten better. We've seen some things that didn't work out so well and got rid of. And we've seen how the news business is changing so much that I've got to keep doing this because I don't get the news I want to without putting the extra effort of searching and putting out there and scanning things and using you guys as a gauge to see what's good out there. So we need you to like these stories, like the news clips, like the shows we have out there on our feed so more people can see the numbers and I can see them as well. Share them with other people who will enjoy what you have going on, enjoy news articles, and, of course, commentary that is my flavor. It's mostly down the middle. I do have my biases, and I'll let you know up front, but it's mostly down the middle commentary. So share it with folks who enjoy sometimes getting news they don't get a lot of because election, because they enjoy that. And if you're not subscribed to the moment, make sure you don't miss out on the moment because you don't want to miss a thing. That song's in my head for some reason today, but subscribe so you don't miss out on the feeds, wherever's the best way you want to get to them. We also have a newsletter, a written newsletter, email newsletter that it comes out to you. Go to our website and find links to that. No face, no voice. There's that. We're on TikTok, we're on short clips. We're on Instagram. We're on Threads. We're on X. We're all over the place. Whatever your better format is for you, we ask you to subscribe. So there. And we're going to have a second ask once you get to that place a little bit later. So be prepared for more asking. More asking is going to come. I'm not going to ask you who you were cheering for in the World Series because it doesn't matter anymore because the Dodgers are your champions and you just have to sit and live with it. Those Dodgers from Los Angeles won in 5 games, overcoming a 5-run deficit in this 5th game to beat the Yankees, who erred themselves out of this game on that last day. 7-6 final score for Game 5. New York Yankees had a chance to make things happen, going down 3-0 and then winning a Game 4 to keep it extended, and looking like they're going to make things happen in this Game 5 until they started dropping balls, literally dropping balls, and just not playing very well. And the Yankees could not hold on to their lead. The Dodgers, with a very, very massive batch of firepower on their own, were able to come back. Your MVP, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, got a chance to play, even though he might have to get a little hurt or surgery because he got hurt a little bit. But the World Series, your world champions in baseball, even though it's not really the world game, are the Dodgers of Los Angeles. Steve Bannon is back. The headline we had for the story was to be released from prison on Tuesday after 4-month sentence. He was actually released very, very early. I don't know why I didn't actually change the headline. It just was just sort of there. But he was released very early in that day, on that Tuesday, and came out swinging, guns a-blazing, chatting about how he's going to fix things. Fortunately, he's been rather quiet, doing mostly podcast stuff. So he's out there spreading the message of Trump, 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 or at least Bannon sort of Swingalian Trump or whatever. But Steve Bannon is back after his 4-month prison sentence. The most interesting thing about this, after being released from the Federal Correction Institution in Danbury, Connecticut, is some of the comments that I received. And some of the comments I received were essentially, I didn't know he was in jail. Which had to be explained a little bit. He was in jail for contempt. Contempt of court, essentially not showing up for his trial and not sitting through stuff and just kind of being Steve Bannon, and he was refusing not to go. He eventually went ahead and had no choice. Time ran out on him, and only had a 4-month sentence for this contempt charge. The big thing was it happened right before 4 months before the election. Luckily, he's out a whole week beforehand, so we have plenty to hear from him. As I said, unless you're really looking for Steve Bannon, he's not popping up in my feeds, and no one's really commenting about him right now. So he's not really the big focus because, Donald Trump can do bad by himself, apparently. We get to him in just a moment. But Steve Bannon is out of jail, just in case you were wondering, just in case you were worried, and he'll be back to his own shenanigans sooner than later. But right now, getting his sea legs back under him, getting back into the swing of things, chatting up as he can. Now, if you're watching us live, go ahead and feel free to comment with us with live interjections. We'll get our best to do this. If you're not watching us live, listen to us live, then some of these things won't make any sense. But if in that case, leave us a comment when you get a chance to, and we will connect back there on that one. If you enjoy what we're doing, as we already said, like, share, and subscribe so we make sure you're getting more of us. We have a couple people who are leaving the business, partially. Starting off with Andrea Mitchell, whose MSNBC's Daily Show will be going away because she's going to step around from her daily duties. Now, one comment I received this was, I didn't know she was on Daily Show. I don't watch more. No, she's not on the Daily Show that's on Comedy Central. She has a daily show, which some people believe is a comedy, on MSNBC. She has an hour worth of time, somewhere around lunchtime. I think it is the noon hour. And essentially, as an older stateswoman in news, no slight intended, you got to put her someplace. You got to keep her in the reps. You got to keep her on the field, because when you need her for the big deals, she has to have a place for her. For a while, she has covered some breaking news and covered some big international events, and just has been sort of the elder stateswoman of the day. Now they're going to replace her with something or someone or some sort of thing. Probably not a 5 like a quiz show type deal, but she's no longer going to have her daily show. She'll still pop up on special reports, still pop up to do regular things. I'm not sure if they're really cutting her hours as much cutting her exposure. Now, many people over the years have called for her head, literally, because they think she's lost her softball. In fact, a lot of the comments said, or were either all she does is bash Trump, all she does is bash Biden, and all the bashing of Biden she did, is about time they got rid of her because she's just as bad. And there you go. Journalism as a business is flailing and failing. And journalism as a entertainment means, because a lot of the stuff we're doing, I mean, once you tell somebody what the story is, at that point, you're just vamping for time, is failing and flailing, as well as new stars aren't being made fast enough, if you will. And the ones that are less newsy and more opinion and just outrage and crazy. it is what it is. We're following more people on a TikTok sort of quickness as opposed to people who give you deep, detailed news. Andrea Mitchell, we're going to give her flowers in this case for doing this so long, being here so long, and whether you like her or don't like her, doing news to the best of her integrity. Our next removal by choice is Bob Costas, who is retiring from MLB games after some backlash to his coverage. People have been bashing Bob Costas recently, although he's been calling games since 2000. He called the World Series back in 1995, 97, and 1999, and has been doing sports for a while and baseball for a while. But right now, people are just sort of not so happy with Bob Costas. He's becoming more of an elder statesman in himself in the world of opinion as well, which maybe where most of the things coming from. But some people weren't so happy with his coverage of his last assignment, which was play-by-play for one of the ALCS games. So with that, Bob Costas is basically saying he's stepping away from play-by-play with a pretty good legacy that you're not going to be able to knock very, very easily. He's still got all that going for him, even if you choose not to think of him as a great ball caller. You even choose not to think of him as a great person because he's taking these stances on things that you may like or may not like. Bob Costas, another person with legacy, leaving legacy for all of us to follow along. The legacy of this man will be determined come Tuesday, whether we like it or not. But we don't have the story on Trump saying he's protecting women, whether they like it or not. But we're going to wrap this on up in this sort of things in a week that was weirdy Trump stuff. Starting off with the roast that was a rally that some people think was a Nazi rally. We're going to say that and walk away from it. That happened where a roast comedian, a very not so great comedian, that was literally so bad that Ann Coulter said, I can't take his roast jokes, said a joke about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage, which turned into the bedwetting and couch fainting and curl clutching line of the week for the Democrats, and pissed off a lot of Puerto Ricans. In the process, Donald Trump did what he did well and took that bad boy and ran with it. He got a garbage truck. He put Trump on the side of it and rode around in it and said, they're calling us garbage. They're calling us garbage. You're being called garbage. Because after the joke, Joe Biden did a little thing on Zoom talking about whatever and whatnot and other things. And he went to the joke about that and he said, all I see out there, only garbage I see are Trump supporters. And then apostrophe gate began because was he talking about Trump supporters in general or just the supporter that said the garbage joke? Because no one could kind of figure it out. So Trump donned an orange vest, rode his garbage truck with, in his white shirt and long tie, got out of the garbage truck, talked to people, couldn't get back into the garbage truck, which was the thing, and then went to the rally that evening wearing the same outfit, essentially not wearing his jacket, wearing his orange guidon vest, basically, for lack of better terms. Like I said, we're not talking about the fact that he's going to protect women, whether they like it or not. We're not talking about the fact that he called Kamala all sorts of things this week. We're not talking about a bunch of things that happened with Donald Trump, including the weird microphone thing. So you have to go look that up to see that one happen. But we are talking about the election. It is over, we hope, come Tuesday. At least it's over for the people voting, and people start counting votes, and we'll see what happens going forward. The election itself, the voting and the actual results probably won't be in until Friday or Saturday because it's going to take a while to count those votes, even though Trump wants to stop counting at midnight because, hey, I'm ahead. It's midnight. I win. No, we have other votes to count. Whether you fall on the Kamala side or the Donald Trump side of this election, I implore you all to vote. I implore you all to vote. I implore you all to get your point in there because it is a valid decision. Now, I'm going to step away from the, biggest election ever hyperbole right now, because at this point, it is what it is. There are reasons to vote for either guy or gal, if in this case, or either person, should say. And there's reasons for people to want the agendas on either side going forward. And there's reasons to hate either person, either candidate are technically, not even technically, they're both not actually the most likable people in the world. One of them just have to be a bit more unlikable to me personally, but it is what it is. I also am going to bring up, I have another project going forward. So if you want to go to jclevelandpayne.net/books and click on the link that's at the top of that page for the new book, which is the Now What Network Manifesto. which you won't see very well in the image, and you can't see it all if you're listening. Now What Network Manifesto, a project we've had, a shadow project for a while, which we're going to pop up and go full force for as long as we can starting this week, which is essentially ways that you can keep your government accountable. You keep your elected officials accountable. It focuses on national elections, but all these things trickle down to your local elections, down to your justice of the peace and your dog catcher. These are things you can do to stay engaged yourself and keep the people who were voted in, whether they're voted by you or the other guys, accountable. So that's out now. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon, and it should be in other places within a couple of days. It takes a while to matriculate to other places, but wherever your books are bought, where your books are sold online, you should be able to find it. And we're going to put in some local bookstores. You probably never find it there, but some local bookstores like to have independent books. We're independent. We'll get a couple copies in there so we can show our independence and a little bit of our reach going forward. And finally, our 12th story for the day. This is an interesting story, interesting take. It may not be one of the bigger stories that you would see, but it brings into play a lot of things that are working against us. And this is environmental. This is trash. This is little garbage. I shout out to my friend Lanika, who has turned garbage into a great good living, and she will tell you that there's a reason why to do this. LA County sues Pepsi and Coca-Cola over their role in ongoing plastic pollution crisis. Legal action is being put out by Los Angeles County. They are suing PepsiCo and Coca-Cola Company, alleging their significant contribution to plastic pollution. It basically saying that their single-use plastic containers are exacerbating environments, making more damage, and even knowing what's happening. You take a recyclable plastic and you take it and you put it in the bin, and they take it to the place, and it ends up in a landfill because no one's actually doing much with recyclable plastic. It really is not. It's really not even worth the effort. The percentage of actual recycling is so low that it's just not worth the effort. It isn't worth the effort. So one of the biggest scams out there is recycling. People still do it. It makes them feel good to put the plastic and the paper and the stuff together. But in most cases, your plastic cups is not happening. It's just not being torn up and turned. If anything, it's turned into the little mermaid tears that are falling up into the ocean, and fish are eating them. It is what it is. The burden of waste management and local government communities are having so much issues with this extra trash that there's a lawsuit being put out by Los Angeles County, where other counties fall suit or other places fall suit. Will this actually go anywhere? I don't know. As a not lawyer who just kind of looks at lawyer things, there's our reason to do this. Like I said, I have a friend who works in waste management, works in trash. She said, I love trash. I make trash goes away, and I make money off of it. And she's very good at her job and getting things clean and getting things moved around. She's saying there's real issues with all this plastic. She says, you may not think that you may not think about it when you put that plastic bottle in that bin and goes away, but it got to go someplace. In most cases, it washes up in the sea someplace or in some third world like country where they'll take the trash because they'll throw some extra dollars at them to take their trash, and their kids are living around all that garbage. This is something that we'll see play out fairly soon, because at some point in time, they'll make a decision on whether it's going to go deeper to court or not. But your garbage, or at least LA's garbage, is now your news. Let's go to our spotlight sponsor for all Saturdays. We always spotlight Ground News, but if you want to see other sponsors, go to our website. This is the conversation.project.com/sponsors and visit them. All of our sponsors are affiliate links. All our sponsors are a paid commission. So if you go to a sponsor and you buy from them, we get a small commission from them. It costs you nothing extra. And we pick sponsors that are great for you, offering you great products, great services, things that are out of the kind of beaten path, and things that will keep you informed, keep you taken care of, keep you protected, keep you safe. Ground News is something that will keep you informed, protected, and safe. And unfortunately, it may be from yourself. Ground News offers the best news coverage out there because it's coverage of all the big stories that are out there and all their sources. You go to Ground News, you pull up all your app on your phone or the website, and you can see how a story is being covered, how it's covered by what different organization who's doing out there, how they're actually headlining it and giving it its ratings, and the ownership of the actual media company, whether they are more red or blue, more conservative, more liberal, more left, more right, or mostly independent, mostly sort of in the middle type things. You may disagree with their actual takes, but trust me, once you go through it, you'll find a better way of judging. If you're a critical thinker and want to see what the other side is doing, they'll take care of it. In fact, the best way to do that is using their blind spot feature. They have a feature that covers stories that are not being covered widely by the other sides. So stories that are mainly covered because they look bad for the left by right-leaning sides are there. You'll see that. And vice versa. Covered by the left because it looks bad for the right are there as well. And you see how some things are glossed over, some things are just sort of ignored, and how different stories, the same actual set of facts with different headlines, can attract different types of readers. They have a big sale going on right now for up to 50% off a yearly subscription right now. And you can get yourself in there for great news for a great price. We use Ground News extensively to check some stories and look for things to see how things are covered, because if something in our other news aggregators is coming up on the same sort of bent with its headlines, we want to see exactly how it's being covered, because sometimes we want the other headline and sometimes we'll find the left-leaning headline for the right-leaning article because we're cheeky like that. But we want you to check out Ground News and get on this great deal. You can get news for less than $10 a month and 50% off on big packages right now. Go to this. It's a conversationproject.com/ground news. This is a conversationproject.com/ground news for the best news coverage out there. When we use many other news aggregators, I actually pay for a bunch of different other news places that aggregate news and for subscriptions to get deeper news. But I gladly pay for the top level for Ground News to give me all I can so I can know that the things we're presenting to you, I have at least the fairest shake I can to present them to you guys out there. And you can get them directly to you every single day as well with Ground News. Promoting ourselves very quickly. Conversation Project is a website and it's a movement. It's a thing. We live online at thisisconversationproject.com. More calls to action are on the way, but stop by our website and so you can see where things are. You can find out about our origin story, if you will, how we got to be where we are, and links to all the things we do and all the feeds we have and all the places we want to go. One thing we want to do, and we do this every single week here, is highlight our partnership page, which is this. It's a conversationproject.com/partnerships. We ask for sponsorship. We have sponsorship links. So we ask for you to check out our sponsors so that they can take care of you and we get take care of there as well. But our partnership links are our link there for partnerships goes to a link at a service called Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com. And our link directly there is buymeacoffee.com/J Clifton Payne. We have several tiers of sponsors there. Right now, Steady Strong, Harold Braxton, Colby Green have been with us for quite some time since we launched it. Eldon Kidd coming in the last couple of months, and he's a guy that's been supporting me for a long while in various ways. A pseudonym, Eldon Kidd, if you don't know, is the name of the dirtiest player in the history of American Gladiators, a guy I've known for quite some time, and he's used that pseudonym for various things. He's helping me out. I appreciate all the work he's doing in his stuff that I help him out with and him supporting us here. And the spare change level is Joy Winters. Now, a cup of coffee is $5 a month. Spare change is just $1. But this spare change and this cup of coffee worth of support goes a long way. And if you want to help us get more things going, more things doing, you can go to our partnerships page at our website. This is conversationproject.com/partnerships. And there's also some ways for quick one-time donations via Venmo and PayPal and Cash App as well. We take those. We take any fund you can get to us, and we do the best with it. To be consistent, go to the partnerships page, you club on there, and look for a tier you want to. We also have the pot of coffee as well, so you can get to that one as well, and it's another ones to check into. So if you want to help us get more conversations out there with more people, we can use the help directly. Become a partner and help. You will be funding the work we have here, and you also get a bit of a second line. We send a special message, special newsletter and video out each week to the partners to let them know what's happening behind the scenes. You get that as well by being a partner. Calls to action. As we wrap things up on the day, we go to our calls to action. We ask you to stop by our website. This is theconversationproject.com, and you can find out where we are located. All the wheres we're located. We're located on TikTok, on YouTube, on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Threads. Find out how we're in email, we're in podcasts, wherever your pods are cast, we're probably there. Find out where you can find us and listen to us or watch us or read us in the best form that's for you. Of course, we also put the replays of all of our videos, the full length shows, which are things you might have heard, the daily news show, things you might ought to know, the daily fun show, and this weekly show, the weekly roundup, there as well. So look at past things you've missed. If you missed it in your feed, check it out. It's there, and comment to the website as well. Email us, the conversation inbox at gmail.com, the conversation inbox at gmail.com, the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Email us for stuff, whether you are a sponsor, whether you are a partner, whether you're just a guy who thinks I'm an idiot. Email me with your comments, your concerns, your complaints, and we take them all in there. We like to say, tell us what we're doing not so good and also good. We'll do more of the also goods and less of not so goods from there. Your conversations help us get into what we do. It brings us back and forth. It's the reason why we click certain buttons, show certain things, do certain things in tandem, because you tell us, hey, that thing you did, that story you had on last week was awesome. Can you do more coverage on that one? And we will. Remember, the coverage of the stories we have are based on your engagement with our stories and our feeds, Facebook, X, and Threads. So if you don't engage in stories, you have no say. Now, if you engage in stories and don't see one that you thought kind of got there, email me with a conversational comment. But our feeds, facebook.com/this is a conversation project and x.com/th_conversation. On Threads, it's threads.net/@this is conversation. We can't get the stats very great from Threads, but we look for those and see if anything's an outlier. But we look at X and look at Facebook, and Monday through Friday in the mornings, about 4-ish in the morning, we'll pull the numbers, 4-ish Central Time, and see what stories are going to be the headlines to get us in there. On Monday, there'll be 30 stories to sift through from 90 stories from the weekend, all weekend long, from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a little bit of Monday. And then we'll take that 30 of the tops that look at it there and pull 10 of those into our narrative. On Tuesday through Friday, there's only 30 stories in a day. So we take the top half stories from the day of time, about 15 or so, and give you 8 of those stories in the feed. That is things you might not have heard, the daily update for news. So make sure you're subscribed so you get that daily thing. Make sure you're subscribed so you get this weekly thing. Subscribe so you get the things you ought to know, which are fun things as well. And keep along what we're doing, because we are doing it for you. This is a labor. That is a labor. It is work. It's a lot of work. But I do it, one, because, as I said earlier, I'm not so trusting of the news coverage, not the news itself, but wide swath of coverage. So I do what I can throughout the day to pluck stories to different places to see where they're going, so I can provide something that's a more of a wide range of news for you guys here with your input for what's conversational. And putting out there, I'd like to be a talking head on CNN. I'd like to be on a talk. I'd like to sit at the Van Jones and say, "What you talking about, Van Jones?" I'd like to do that, but I can't get there without some eyeballs watching this thing, without some engagement here, without a bit more support. So follow all the calls to actions. Just follow all of them. Just take a day and take the day off from work and just do every single thing, and we would be awesome. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the work we're doing, and comment with us via email or inside of the videos with your comments or the audios. If you're watching this listening on the podcast, to let us know how well or how not well we're doing. I am Jay Clifton Payne. This has been the weekly roundup for the week ending November the 2nd, 2024. Love you. Mean it. More news articles, stuff on the way, more videos for the weekend to pop up as we prep for Election Day, 2 days away, and more promotion for me and the book. We're going to talk about that in a separate video coming down the feeds on YouTube. So look for it. Look for it coming down soon. If I hadn't said so yet, I love you. I love you all. And we will see you in one of the wrap up of the biggest stories that kind of caught my attention next week. And come Monday, it'll be all right with the biggest stories that you said were conversational for things you might not have heard Monday morning.